Great Peace, Holito Chamuengapo, Holicio Hantuk Shata. Um, in this video, I wanted to go over how um, we are um, we need not lose our ways. We need not lose our ways. I want to talk about this briefly. Before I do that, I want to head over here. This is Jesse Owens. He made comments during the World War II. Um, he was a very celebrated human being, um, very recognized during that time. Um, his middle name is Cleveland. So there you have it, Cleveland. Jesse Owens. And he is the depiction of the Cleveland Indians logo. And as you can see, he has a feather on the back of his head. People don't realize how fabs become like outdated and they become extinct. Like putting a feather in your head today is like almost like it's redundant to a degree. Like people won't do it because it feels weird. Um, this is Jesse Owens. This is his logo. So like when people say things like I'm indigenous or I'm African, like it takes more than to just say it. Like people have to live it and be it. Like you see these photos over here. Let me close out. You see these photos over here. These are all our relatives, and they all can transmorph and transgress, and how they look, but they all look the same way. Because like there's only one. Everyone on the planet is one. There's this idea that we're all separate, to the degree that we're not related. That's not true. We all come from tribes, and we don't impede on each other's cultures. We don't impede on each other bands and tribes. We don't impede on each other. Um, if such is done, then sacrifices are made. The wars happen. When you see someone press a nuclear button, that's just the equivalent of a bullet coming out the barrel of a gun, or a arrow tip being sharpened to hit something near a bark tree. It's the same thing. But what I want to talk about in this video was that our names, our surnames, and our, how we are, they tell us our human migrations. So like my last name is Early, Early, right? So when you see this right here, this Y, that just means that the people on my paternal side, because you get your last name from your father, they crossed a land bridge. Okay, they're Caucasians. They came from the mountains, right? And when I say Caucasians, I'm talking about dark-skinned Caucasians, African American Caucasians, not Caucasians in the such that they are Europeans or what they call today Caucasians. A Caucasian person is an Ethiopian, a person that comes out the mountains, who dwells in the mountains and who lives in the mountains. And that's what that actually means. So when you see someone with a shamat or a shallow, and they're on the mountain, yelling out of it and blowing air through it and making it, whistle and stuff like that, like you see on the Pocahontas movie, right? Those are Caucasus people. That means they're getting the mooses to move. They're getting the animals to leave, or they're getting them to come. That's what that means, right? You'll see it on a commercial that was televised like in the 2000s, the early 2000s, where they say Ricola. Ricola. That's what that is. So you go down here and you see my human patterns, right? And you see like Denzel Washington, like his people came up from the mountains and also down here. And I'm going to go into this movie real quick because these people are the people that are related to Denzel Washington. Not the guy right here on the screen, but the other people. This right here is a Scottish person, a Highlander. You can see right here he has a dip in his chin. So that basically just means his mouth is crooked, because Campbell means crooked. That's what Campbell means. It means crooked. All right. So, and that's one of my surnames. I have a crooked chin as well, or crooked mouth rather. So like Denzel Washington, his people came up through here, and they came up through the Caucasus Mountains, and they also came from these parts. But like when you talk about like his paternal side, because like the paternal side doesn't get as much grace as the uh, the maternal side. So his paternal side will have migrated up through here, up through there, up through there, and back down here and across. All right, because you know he do most of his studios in California. He don't do them in Georgia. All right, so that's Denzel Washington, and that's a cousin of mine because he's from Woodlawn, Chicago, and I know his brother. His brother would have come through this region as well because he has slanted eyes. You know what I mean? So you can look at a person's surname and look at the way they look and tell what migration patterns that they come from and where they came from. Right. So that's always been unique to me in the sense that I can like see how that goes. Um, so my people are the times, right? They went all right up here and came through here, right? So this is like the Gulf of Mexico right here. And then you come up through here and they're right here. So they're Choctaw. Toluskasa. Um, that's times. So you got a T right here and you got T on the end of on the beginning of the name, times. That's Choctaw. So you think of German and you think of Choctaw, that means chocolate. All right, so I said that in another video, and that's also a distinction that Taj Tariq Bey uses. All right, so I wanted to talk about our Moorish culture and like, you know, how we forget how government is ran and how things are kind of like said and stuff like that. Um, it's so true, man. I just like I look at our people, man, and like we forget like how government was sorted out to be. Cause like I look at Detroit, right? All these names right here: Algonquin, Michitakakton, Menaki, Ojo. All these are street names uh, in Detroit. When you think of Flathead, you think of Blackamore, think of Shoshone, you think of Wyoming, you think of Kebab, Hopi. All these are street names in Detroit. Um, and the reason that Detroit is not as graduated as Chicago is, that's because the people from Chicago, when they came to Detroit, they didn't finish establishing government. All right, because like Detroit is like a city you think of, right? And the population it just abandoned, just went down. That's Detroit. It was meant to be a free city for people who were not supposed to go on strike against corporations and you know the Constitution. Because if you go on strike, because that's what street means. It means strike. It means you're against the Constitution. All right. It means you're preparing for war. That's all that really meant. Place names were just like free inhabitants, people like free inhabitants. Place names. It was never meant to be street or avenue. Um, it didn't mean to be that. So you look at all these places like this right here. These come in my backyard in the morning. These right here. So you can see they had a migration pattern down here. They had a migration south. So they were trying to avoid something that was happening up here. And you can see right here, there's a huge land of water. So a Devere happened right here. And then you got the igloos right here in Inuit. And then you have Inuit, which means I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. That's all that means. And then like you have the I in there, so you already know like these Caucasus Mountains up here means Ethiopians were up here. Um, then you got the Caribou. There's a Starbucks in Detroit, so you know that's the culture of Detroit, Caribou, right? So Um, let's see. Missouri, Osage. All these are street names in Detroit and Chicago. Right here. Let's see. So like we read up here and it says things like there were more than 4,000 languages in America. That tells you a lot. That means that we weren't going to public schools. That means we were learning languages on our own and we were learning how to communicate to each other on our own. If you're going to school and you're learning one language, then it's not that diverse. Everybody in that country is going to speak English. It may be a broken form of English. It may be a French form of English. It's still English. Um, and like you can speak a mountain form of English. It can just be called Metonese. It can be called Dogrit, be called Slavey, be called Saccony. It's the same thing. You can speak English and have it be termed Navajo. All right, so there's no difference. And then when you think of Navajo, those are Denzel Washington people. Those are my people, Navajo. Navajo uses the Z very strongly in their words, and it uses the I, which means they come from the south regions of Mexico, and they came up, and they spread out through the southeastern woodlands, and they spread out through the Caucasus Mountains of the northern regions of near Alaska, the land bridge, where you cross over from the Eurasia parts. All right, so this is where Denzel does the movie about the girls who are in bondage in the movie Equalizer, and he's trying to get them out of prostitution, the prostitution ring, and he's trying to save them and stuff like that. That's where that comes from. So like you can see the uniqueness there. Like you look at Denzel Washington and you see them put on the raccoon hat or the beaver hat, and like it flops over the ears. That's our culture. That's our culture. Um, you can see the Eskimo doing that because those are hats that they wear in Chicago. They had the little bean on the top and they have the floppy ears and stuff like that. That's a Chicago type of hat. Um, let's see. Like I've never seen anyone wear that hat in Detroit. I've never seen it. So Waukesha. So that's Santee, South Dakota, Sioux. All right, so this is unique, man. This map is very powerful. When you think of the way we wear our headdresses and stuff like that, it's very powerful. Um, this would be how I would wear my headdress if I was during the generation of my third great grandfather and my fourth great grandfather and my fifth great grandmother on my maternal side. I would be with them, right? And I would be in Virginia and I would wear my headdress like this. Okay, so you have the Pamunkey who have the feather collar. Then you have the Shawnee who wear the turban. So this is in Memphis. Memphis, Cairo, Egypt. Memphis, Cairo, Egypt. Memphis, Cairo, Egypt. They wear the turban. Muslims. They have the feather right here, which means it was a symbol of luck, right? So you have the Kansas right here, right? So you can see the Pawnee and Shawnee, they're related. They have that the two E's on the end make a sweet sound of sharp sound of E. All right, so Cahokia, the mounds in Illinois, all right, Southern Illinois, all right. So I want to go over here to this movie and I want to quickly go through it. I don't want to use too much space. I just did a 2-hour video and it did not save. It was a good video and I wish I could have saved it, but it didn't save. Here it is. Now you see what he says. He says, "I'm sorry for you English, but I am a free man." That's what he says. So you got to think like this is this is a real thought for today. This is why I don't speak in English when I'm around people. I might try not to, correlate with or understand what they're trying to say because, like, when people get into your grace and they see that you speak English, they feel like, okay, you're one of them. I don't necessarily feel that way um, because I know that it's a war. It's a war torn language. Wars are started with the English language. Wars are started. So one thing I try to do is like not try to be um, the best English speaker known to man. Like I don't divvy into those subgroups that English where English is spoken. This is me right here. Like I'm completely a laborer, farmer. Um, those are my subgroups. For you, there's no escape from the jungle. All right. So you see this guy right here. He canoed everybody through here, along with the guy who just said, "I am a free man." So you see the savages and you see the Muslim right here. These two men get along. The savages don't bother the civilized person who's a free man and who's dark skinned. This is a free white person. That's a definition. Free white person. The Baltics, the Celtics. That's the definition of the seven. That's the 1791 definition of a free white person. All right. And then it says not including Caucasians. So that lets you know everything you need to know right there. This guy right here, again though, he's from the Caucasus regions. All right, so you see his head. He has a kufi on his head. He looks like a Negro from America during the '60s era, right? Very slender, full mustache, um, talks with a buff. So like, let's look at this. He is the Highlanders' guide, and the other people are just laboring, like they're giving free labor. This is history as it is taught. The Muslim guy, the Muslim, he's privileged. He has rights, and these Orientals, these Asians, these Amazonians, they're showing him how to, they're not showing him how to get where he needs to go. He already knows where to go. He's a traveler. He's traveled. So you see these guys that are laboring with him and they're helping him get to where he needs to go to show the Highlander because this is government. And he never gets touched. His skin color never gets talked about. They love him, right? This is how it is in government. It's no issue between Muslims and tribes. It's no issue between tribes and Muslims. The issue is the Highlander.
Even the Indians gone mad now.
So he calls them Indians.
He's talking to me about gold cities today. Like you.
So that was one of my favorite scenes in the movies, and I saw this movie when it first came out, around 2018, 2017. I saw this movie. It probably came out before that, but I saw this movie. And like this movie, it changed my whole scope on life, man. It really did. So you can see him. He looks like somebody from the '60s in Chicago, right? Um, Fezzed up. Um, not doesn't trim his hair. You know what I mean? He's a Berber, a barber, barber. Um, and he's guiding these men to where they need to go. And like all through here are tribesmen who looks like him and then who looks like these people right here. Right, the admixture between the both of them. All right, let's go further.
Mr. Costa. Manager.
So you can see the look on his face. He has a purple chakra up. He's seeing something. He's hearing something. Muslims, schizophrenia. That's history. That's Schwarzenberg. That's the emperor of Germany. He died. He was the first to diagnose Muslims with schizophrenia. So this is that history right here. All right. Muslims are people who think a lot, who encourage peace, who speaks in like broken English, which is Arabic. This is him. This is what he's going through right now.
Jesus Christ, I got dead from hungry. One piece. Lord Jesus Christ, I got dead. Give me that. Control yourselves.
All right, so you can see that scene right there, and he's their guide. And see, they can't control themselves. They're arguing. They're fighting. So they get into government. They have a overturn of the century. Um, they get new paintings. Um, they overrule the parliament. They're in government now. All right, so they're trying to explore the world and see what land they can dominate and take advantage of. All right, so I want to show the part where they get fish out the water by using a poison to paralyze it, and they give it to the Highlanders. All right, so they grace the fish because they're going to eat it. They grace the fish um, by giving chants. All right, so they're ceremonious. All right, so in Chicago they'll say this fish is fire. You know what I'm saying? They'll start rapping while they cooking. Same thing. So he poured the poison in the water, and a fish emerged in the water. So there and they're floating. So now he's going to offer him one.
That is remarkable. That substance only stuns the fish. They don't kill them, but they have to.
It stings the fish. They don't kill them. So like me personally, I wouldn't eat flesh or anything like that because flesh it makes you violent. Um, when you eat it, it makes you violent. Like fish, chicken, pork. You eat it and you wait for your next meal. It makes you violent. Like imagine like eating meat every day and you have to like clock in and go to work. Like that's the worst feeling ever in the world. All right, so these people are cannibals. They had a body burning at the stake, and they was eating it. That's in one of the scenes. All right, one of the last few scenes that I want to show is coming up.
Found it.
Right here. So you can see these Amazonians. They look like African Americans, and also the other ones look like a mixture between uh, Amazonians and African Americans. That's true to this day. So this scene right here, this lady right here, she has the middle part of her head shaved, and like the two people on the side of her, like they're chieftains. So they're gonna make a sacrifice of these two because they overran their stay. This is the same thing that happened with John Cho, and when he impeded on the Sentinel Island, like he overwent his boundaries. The Indians who guided him there, they didn't get sacrificed, but he did. All right, and it's probably because they never saw him before, and like the Jawa people, they could have did the same thing to the people who came to their lands, but they didn't do that. This is why they got colonized. So like you can see these people are socialists. They're not capitalists. Um, they're around a camp and they're prepared for war. But their main needs in living like this is just to live off the land and to be in peace. They're prepared for war, but they're not necessarily ones who want to start war. This is these people are about self defense. This is tribal governance. Tribal governance.
Be brave. Nothing will happen to us that is not our destiny.
So these is how the people look. She looks completely African American. He looks completely African American, and she looks like completely African American, but like with the small admixture. Um, Listen to what they have to say about Christians. The Christian is not one of us. He is not one of them either. Let us find a home for his spirit. All right, so you have a president and you have two vice presidents. This is how you run government. Um, you have a general and you have two lieutenants. You have a lieutenant and you have a vice lieutenant. Same thing, governance. Um, when you look at our councils on the soil of America, um, and you look at this right here, and then you look at how people became to be around us, and you look at how they live, it just lets you know how we lived in the past and what we had in the past and what we're going to have in the future. All right, so let's just look at this right here. She comes over and gives them a liquid to eat, and they get relaxed and they fall asleep and they carry them off on a gurney. So that is how tradition is, and that's how it always has been. You have the black gift and you have the blue gift. You have the gift and the curse. All right, that's the Jay-Z album. Um, when you read stuff like this right here, and it tells you like in how historically for cannibal times, native tribes in the Americas have always been on the move. You have the North Ordinance, you have the West Ordinance, you have the Northwest Ordinance. I think of 1789 or something like that. Then you have the East Ordinance, the South and the North Ordinance, and the West Ordinance. So you have all those ordinances. You have a parent when you're born. Um, they come from different tribes and they have parents. What you notice is that they all got to where they were through an axis. All right, so you look at me and Denzel Washington, we're related. Okay, we have fifth distant cousins, six generational cousins. All right, so you look here and you see like he's from Woodlawn, right? And I'm from Inglewood, right? So those are distant cousins coming together over time in the same territories that they knew all along. Like me, I'm not going to move to some place and just move there because I like the way the place looked. No, I'm going to move there because I have family there. Um, you look at how the Y is used. This is a Q right here. So if there's a Q right here, that means the Y was used down here as well. Trike mix, trike mix, trike mixe, trike mixe. Um, then you have the Olmec. So you think of the Olmec and you think of the Y, you think of the people in Brookhaven, Mississippi. They look the same way. They have square faces, crunch faces. They have eyebrows that extrude, and they have deep sunken faces, and their skin is very dark. And they range from like dark brown, very dark brown, to um, red, because you got the Red Panthers in Brookhaven, Mississippi, and they're Choctaw. So you think of the Choctaw, you think of the Olmec. Very general statement. They both are the same people. Um, so you see here and you look like, where's the Y being used? Um, the Y is being used with the Mayans. So you think of Mary, you think of Maya, same people. If your great great grandmother name was Mary, she was probably a Mexican. She was attributed to the Mayans. All right, so you got the Yucatan Empire right here. That's where they come from. You see a person named Mary in these areas. This is where they come from, the Yucatan Empire, and then they went to Cahokia. So my people is from Brookhaven, Mississippi, and Chicago. So that's Illinois and Mississippi. They're Olmecs, same people. Um, it's a very strong history, man. Some people just tell this story um, with knowing and without knowing what it was originally meant to be said for. Chicago is very culture related because like the way the people talk, it it incentivizes a lot of people to like want to come and visit there because like when people start to find out about Chicagoans, how they are and how they talk and their experiences, like people want to get to know them. So like when they unveiled this history about the Olmecs, the people who unveil it never tell you about, okay, maybe they're going to find out that the Olmecs are Chicagoans. You got that O in the beginning of the word Olmec and you got the O at the end of Chicago. They never tell you about that history. So I always tell people like, look up your last name in some of these places so you can know who you are. Because when they use letters and stuff like that, and they use letters on these maps, you have to know your migrational patterns. Because like if you have an N in your name, like Norris or something like that, and that's your last name, it's probably because you're Navajo. All right, so you need to know like migrational patterns and when letters are used in these patterns. All right, so I can tell you right now, my people are Mexico and Alaska and California and Wyoming. Those are my people. And Chicago as well, because there's that O. All right, so I was born in Chicago, so like I'm always going to be that. All right, so that's this movie right here. They sacrificed them. That was going to be expected. You never have honored killings without, having grace. You don't want to start wars just by annihilating people and obliterating countries and villages like we see today with the different tribes out there in Israel. You don't want to have that going on. So um, yeah, I just look at this man and I just think to myself like, this takes extraordinary work to to do this, to coexist with animals and to be one with the spirit. They actually did this, and it worked. So this is important to know and to see. You have the Seminoles down here; they're runaways. Um, they're not ones who you're gonna hold captive. And the Seminoles, they won a lot of wars. Mm, they kept Florida a republic, and it never became a union. Um, let's see. And like now, when you think of it being a part of the United States, um, is only a union on paper. Like the people down there, they are not governed by the same policies that people are governed in the North. The people down there are very respectable. The only time you get that issue happening is when people are not respectable towards one another. They kept their place a republic and they welcomed the unionists. So like they haven't been necessarily overthrown, but you know what's on paper is just on paper. All right, so that's this for this, man. Like I went into like very and it says right here, Pokemon. So when you think of that little ball right there, and you think of these Olmecs, and you think of Geodude and Pokemon, that's that Olmec. That's the Olmec, Geodude and Olmec. Let me see if I can look that up. Geodude. You see this? I used to always play with this Pokemon, but like, and I used to win a lot because I was into Pokemon cards. I'm still is, but like, I used to win a lot. You see this guy right here? This is an Olmec. This is the Rock um, Pokemon. All right, so he uses strength. So you think of these people, you think of Brookhaven, Mississippi. They are like five. The women are like 5'6", 5'5", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", on average. They have circular heads, very dark skin, strong cheekbones, for strong jaws. Um, yeah, they almost look like the little vintage dolls. So this is how they look. You got the Olmec right here, and that's Geodude. All right. Then you go to Chicago. It's areas in Chicago called Geo. So that's what I mean. Like people pick up on culture and don't realize what it really means in its essence. Um, Language never changes. Like I'm grateful for the internet because it told me like, wow, who am I living around? Then you find out like you live in a city, like everybody's in that city is your cousin. Everybody in that city you're related to. And that the city you live next to, them are even more of your cousins. Um, because you got to think like the Constitution says, don't travel out 10 miles between a district, because if you do, you're going to embark on families. Um, yeah, this is unique, man. You see a Z right here, Mazatec. This Denzel Washington's people right here. There's a Z, and then it takes you straight up to Washington. So that lets you know all you need to know. These people are related and they're our cousins. Um, there's not one human in the world that isn't cousins. Like we're all cousins. We all have common ancestry. So I don't know what people be thinking, man, when they just up and be going off the other way on people. Like people just go off on you for no reason because they don't like the way you look, right? Then you find out like when you use common sense, like where I have 10 fingers and 10 toes and you do, so we're cousins. And this right here, this is what my father calls me, Nookie. And so you can see right there, Mississippi is in California. I mean, doesn't get any more simpler than that. So that's all I want to say for this video. I don't want to run it too long because I know like it's not going to save, and I want to upload this because I said some very good things in this video. So when you look at Native American tribes and you think of Moors, same people. There's no distinct difference. The only thing is that Nash peers, they wear fezzes and feathers, and Moors in history when they was crossing the Atlantic Ocean, they just wore beads and fezzes like hats because the weather patterns were different over there. So if I get a need to wear a crown, I'm gonna wear a crown like Mansa Musa. So that's that. You have a little French right here. So if you see Native Americans right here, she's on a coin right here, Sagajawa. She's on a coin. So when you see a French word like right here, that's right here, this means the people understood French and they created French. No different, because Egypt means French. It's a French word. It means it's a Greek word. So these people understood what that origin meant. And if you're over here, you're by the Grand Canyon. So we know what the Grand Canyon was. That was just like the same texture of the grains that were used to build monuments in Egypt. Sawdust, granite, so rocks. So that's the same thing over there. It's very unique to see things for what it is, man. And I try my best to like see people through their honest ways. But like when people can't tell you like who the Menemi is, or the Chippewa or the Ottawa, I'm trying to wonder out like what do they think? Like what do they be thinking all day? Like do they know who they are? You know what I mean? Like you become that still where you don't want to associate with people. You begin to lose contact with who you are as a person. Because I tell you this, everybody in Chicago and everybody in Detroit, they stretch out. All of them, Chicago and Detroit, everybody in there is cousins. You're African American, you're a cousin. You're your own distinct group, you're a cousin. But that's not the thing that I want to point out. My thing is that we all know we're cousins. I know that. The thing I want to know is that how long have our ancestors been living in this area? Like, can you go on paper and say, yeah, my people have been living in this area since the beginning? And I know a lot of African Americans can do that. Because, like, we don't come from anywhere else. Georgia's going to go to New York and they're going to go back to Georgia. Chicago's going to go to Chicago and they're going to go back to Jackson, Mississippi. It's no different. They're both cities. They're both towns. Then you have Illinois and Mississippi. They're both states. So you're going somewhere in these places. So I covered that. Inuit just means I'm in it, or I knew it. So when you see teenagers in Chicago make a hook on a drill song and say, I'm in it, I'm in it, I'm in it, I'm in it. When you hear stuff like that, that lets you know they're related. They're close relatives. They're close relatives. Right here, the Eskimo. So you see them in the wintertime in Chicago, and they wear the beanies on their hat, and they have the floppy hat with the floppy ears, the raccoon hat. That's what this is right here. You know what I mean? So it's who you were raised around in your environment. It's the language that you pick up. It's the way you speak. You're programmed to speak a certain way. You may not even know who your first cousin and your second cousin is, but you just programmed to speak a certain way. That culture, like, it never subsides. It never dies off. Like, we're our own distinct people. Like, we're never going to just die off and just lose what we've been building for eons, to be on this planet. We're going to go to another planet and we're going to bring this culture. This is our star system. This is our program. This is our black star. So I'll go ahead and end off on that. You all be well and have many endeavors. Um, enjoy the Isinabe. Enjoy the Blackfoot in North Carolina and also in the Wyoming regions. Take it easy and be aware, be valor, be vigilant. Yakoki.